Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Atlantic Bushcraft Adventures. Tonight we are on episode 281, and as you've noticed, we have Steve back. Or I should say, I think we're on episode 281. I'm going to be honest, I didn't really check that well. Oh, I suppose I should actually post that. Your face is being replaced for one moment there, Steve. I apologize. I thought I posted this. People are watching it in the background now. Now we're back with Steve. So tonight we're going to be talking a little bit about the Sylvotherapy. That's we had mentioned in a previous episode and congratulated Steve here on his certification in it. And funny enough, it triggered a handful of comments coming in and questions asking what it is, what it involves, and stuff like that. And instead of me trying to preach about something that I'm going to be honest, I don't know a whole lot about, figure we get the man on himself that just got certified. And keep in mind, folks, he is fairly new at this, so be gentle if you do come into the comments here. But I feel he is still so much more qualified to talk about this than Ben or I. And as on that note, as you know, Ben's not here tonight. He is taking a rest night. Been talking to him earlier. Trust me, he deserves it. So let's leave the man alone, and Steve and I got this. So yeah, Steve, let's just start right there. What is it in layman's terms? Try to explain it to somebody like me who's not overly bright.
So I'm not very bright either, so this is great. So Sylvotherapy, or a forest therapy practitioner, is someone who understands the healing benefits of trees and plants, right? In not way back, but in Japan, there's always been a really strong connection to their forests over there. And they understood that there's healing benefits to be gained from being in nature. We know this. We've talked about this before. You guys have too. That there's benefits to be gained from being out in nature. And but the Japanese people, as modern society kind of crushed along like it does, they got away from their forests. And there was a guy who really wanted that connection to be rebuilt between the Japanese people and their forests. So he started practicing Shinrin Yoku, and that is just the Japanese form of forest bathing, is all that is. And that's not sylvotherapy, that's not forest therapy. What that is, forest bathing, is just going into the woods and being there. That's it.
And this
right?
is what I really wanted you to get into, is there is a distinct difference in a couple of these different things. And this is where the questions came from. Oh, is it this? Is blah, 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 blah. So yeah, folks, there is a difference. Key thing there. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Steve.
No, all good, man. Anytime. So yeah, that is the key difference. Forest bathing, you go into the woods, you're just there, right? Anybody can do that. You can do it in a park. You can do it anywhere. So the difference being with sylvotherapy is you got me, right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you into the forest, or a small group of you, which I haven't done yet. This is all in my mind so far, but I think we're going to do really good with this. So I'm going to take you into the forest, and I'm going to try to help you to experience nature, the forests, the plants, with all of your senses. Try to engage all your senses while you're there. We're going to spend time spending time with trees, with specific trees. We're going to learn about what I'll pass a lot. Like, I'm always pretty humble about what I know, but I do understand that I probably know a little bit more than the average person when it comes to being in the woods and what you're seeing, right? So we'll describe a little bit of edible plants. We'll look at mushrooms. Of course, I love mushrooms. And trees. The main ones are trees. We will take some time to just sit with the trees. I'll do a little bit of guided meditation if that's your jam. If you're not into that, that's fine. These sessions can be tailored, right? And as we move through nature and learn and look and experience it, we will be gathering things as we go. We'll be gathering little bits of nature it's encouraged not to actually pick anything that's living, but leaves and twigs and stones, things on the ground. You pick those up and gather them as you go. And towards the end of the session, after we've spent a good bit of time in the woods, there'll be specific spots and trees that I will sit people at, and leave them there for, not great amounts of time, 10 minutes, whatever, just so you can sit and be and not hear traffic or noise or people, and give you a chance. Because I've always found, because I've been doing this to myself for about 4 years now, unwittingly. I didn't really understand I was doing it. But anyway, you sit there, you be, and the woods just goes back to doing what it was doing. if you sit quietly for a few minutes, the woods just fires up and starts doing what it forgets you were there, right? And you've probably seen it too. And once we do all that, we'll go back to a specific spot and I'll build a fire. We'll have a little cup of tea. We'll have a little tea ceremony. And while I'm making the tea, the participant will build a mandala, which is a circular piece of art out of the natural things they gathered, right? That'd be great. You take a picture of that, and then we all walk away reaping the benefits of being out in nature. Now, there's some science behind this too with the trees, because I learned that trees are actually pumping out phytoncides all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And phytoncides are, you probably know about them, they're molecules that are antimicrobial and antifungal, and they're the tree's natural defense, right? When a tree feels threatened by something, it starts pumping phytoncides, and it pumps them all the time. When we're around trees and out in nature, those phytoncides are getting on our skin, we're inhaling them, they are getting all over us. And guess what? They're really great for us. they're awesome for us. They're great for your immune system. They're immune boosting. There's all kinds of great benefits to be had from those phytoncides. So I look at trees a lot different now. Like, I don't even have to get close. I just look and take a deep breath and know, like, especially pine trees, they're one of the highest phytoncides pumpers, but definitely your conifers. So that's it in a nutshell. The difference being between a forest bath and sylvotherapy is me. You're going to be guided. If you're not comfortable, right? A lot of people aren't me. When I started going in the woods, I just walked in, right? I've been there before, but I'd never experienced it like I have recently in the last few years. And that's right. I'm not scared. I learned a while ago to just take action, stop thinking and start doing, right? And that's what I did. So going into the woods for me just became going into the woods. But then when I saw this course, I realized that, right, this is something. I'm doing something, right? And I didn't really realize I was. So, yeah.
No,
that's
100%.
it in a nutshell.
And I guess the follow-up question to this is going to be the opposite side of this. We also have the people, the naysayers, that'll be like, is it hocus pocus? And I guess I'm going to interject just a tiny bit on here and give you my belief on this, and then I want you to step in as somebody that's doing this and see where we're at on this as an interesting kind of deal. You know what I mean? If that,
yeah.
I don't want to say a comparison because it's kind of comparing apples and oranges. Somebody that's actually a little educated in this versus somebody that's just kind of like me, Joe Blow Nobody. It's apples and oranges. But I'm curious to see your thoughts on this as well. So the answer I had written, which before I had contacted you to go to this one, is defining hocus pocus. You know what I mean? And I was really careful with the way I worded this, and I'm going to be real careful with the way I say it on here. I likened it similar to religion. It's one of those things that those who believe in it. Those that don't will never actually believe in it. But those that do believe in it, if it enriches their life in any way, shape, or form, whether it enriches them spiritually, it gives them guidance, just moral direction, whatever, you know what I mean? Is it hocus? Like, once again, I'm trying to relate it to religion, and I'm not saying it's hocus pocus or not, but for the same people that would say religion would be hocus pocus, my rebuttal to that would be, if it is helping them in any way to better themselves, is it really hocus pocus? You know what I mean? It's a little bit of faith. It's a little bit of belief. It's a little bit of it's being good to them for whatever way it happens to do it. Therefore, it's got to be legit to some degree.
So, I'll dive right on that like a grenade, right? I am not a believer. This is going to be weird. We're going to get a little bit weird here, Rob, but I'm not a believer. I heard a long time ago, I kind of went through a bit of a spiritual awakening. I'm not religious at all, right? Far from it. Never participated in that at all, ever. But I went through a bit of a spiritual awakening, and I didn't know what was going on, so I started listening to like Hindu stuff and all sorts of stuff to try to figure out what I was experiencing. And I heard Sadhguru say one time that to say you believe is to say you know nothing at all. And I was like, what? One of these things. Meditate on that. Think about that for a bit. To say you believe is to say you don't know anything. Well, right? That's kind of true. That's kind of like, to say I believe. So I transition. I say I think. I think I'm gaining benefits from being in the forest, right? I have this great theory that when I go into the woods and I come out, I feel much better, right? Because beliefs now, don't get me wrong, studies have shown that people who believe in something live longer, healthier lives than people who don't. It's been studied, right? It's been looked up. But I'm not a believer. I try to, because beliefs are something, once you get cemented in, are very hard to change. Thoughts are just thoughts. They come and go, right? And my thought is that this is great. This is something that I enjoy doing, right? I've been doing for 4 years, and there is science behind it, right? There are negative ions is a big thing in Sylvotherapy. A part of what you're experiencing is negative ions. The best place you can gather up negative ions is at the beach, right? From what I've learned on this course. And the second best place is in the woods, right? That's where you're going to get the most negative ions. And there's studies that show once you get negative ions into you and you're surrounded by them, your body starts producing these NK cells, which are natural killer cells. Natural killer cells will not tolerate a deviated cell within your body. So it starts killing them, right? Mm-hmm. So that's right. That's your C words. That's all that stuff, right? And I think that's relevant. That's possible, right? But I'm not a believer of anything, right? My thoughts with new information, my thinking can completely change. So I don't, and I try, right? This is something that I'm not trying to label myself or anything like that. I'm a dude in the woods. Most of the times I'll say I'm an idiot in the woods, right? I'm just some idiot in the woods,
you man. You can't steal that. That's copyrighted.
No, ABA. I'm not going to steal it from you, but yeah.
Don't follow me. I'm always lost. You know what I mean?
Right, exactly.
You can't be lost if you have nowhere to go, is what I always say.
Right, exactly. But that being said, I have experienced the benefits firsthand. And when I was in the woods tonight, Rob, and I had supper in the woods, right? Not many people do this, but I do. When I go out for coffee, I go to the woods and I have a coffee. I'll make a coffee and have a coffee. I know a few of us do that. A few of us will go out, and it's not to stay overnight. It's not camping. I'm just going, setting up, having a bite to eat, man, and then spending a couple hours and coming home. And when I'm driving home tonight, I make it to the car, get in, head home. I'm grinning ear to ear. I'm beaming, right? Like I can see other people in cars passing me, looking at me, right? Because I'm beaming. You're radiant. You've taken that energy in, and you're able to, it's able to help you, man. So, and a big part of Sylvotherapy that I'll learn as I go is knowing what specific trees will help certain people. Right? Mm-hmm. If you're anxious or nervous or you have fear, right? What trees can I sit you down in front of that will help you for a specific problem? And that's something I'll learn as I go, right?
And I mean, that's the thing. Experience teaches all. You know what I mean? We all don't start off as masters or even, beginners for that matter. We all start somewhere, and as we increase our life experiences and try things with, testing, research, and applying theoretical knowledge, we get better. And that's where this is going to go. And I find it interesting. And I'm trying to think of what it was that you actually said that I found interesting there. And it was a key phrase, and I had it right in my head until it came back to me. And of course, now it's gone. I'll come back to it. I'll remember it. Yeah. So, let's see. We have a couple comments here. So Danny's joined us tonight. Red Sand Adventures, of course. Welcome you back there, right Steve. On. Danny over in PEI. And we have Chris Jones here. Think is good. You can change a thought with better information. Belief is far trickier, and people tend to define themselves by their beliefs. Makes it hard to change. And that's kind of literally mirroring what you were just saying there, Steve. And it's a real good point. And that's why we're being so delicate with this conversation here, because this is one of those touchier subjects, and I think we're doing it okay justice. But yeah, it's that is kind of its power and its Achilles heel all at the same time. Is belief. It's incredibly strong when it's there, almost unmovingly strong. And like I said, that's kind of its power and its Achilles heel, depending on which side of that coin you're on. And I think I'll leave it right there. Before I
was a person who thought, I always thought like my dad and me would be at the camp and we would argue, man, like, because he would be trying to force an opinion or a belief out of me on a subject, and I wouldn't have none. Right? I've just always been this way. It's not new to me, right? Or something I transition from. I have no problem with anybody who believes anything, right? I think anything's possible. So whatever you want to believe, like you said, if that benefits you in any way, shape, or form, all the power to you, man. Go for it, right? All the power to you.
And that's kind of where I've always been, is whatever floats your boat is my, it's my saying. And sometimes people take that as rude and stuff, and that's not what I mean. I know it can come off as one of those, whatever floats your boat, man, one of those shuffle ways, but legitimately, whatever makes you happy and gives you purpose or direction, it's a good thing. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I leave it at that. Like much like yourself, I'm not specifically religious. I did try religion, several of them. As I was a younger person, I tried a couple different things to get different views on the world, and I'm talking everything from like Catholicism, Christianity, Wiccan. My wife has done Buddhism, and I looked at that. Like I've looked at different things to see different perspectives on beliefs, and I've kind of come up very similar to yourself. You know what I mean? So I haven't committed myself to anything single tracked. I think that's
Right.
okay.
Yeah.
I much like yourself kind of keep my mind open to new information and new possibilities. So Danny over here, does this get into, or what are your thoughts on grounding? Do either of you know anything about it? And
Yes,
I'm going
man.
to assume this is where you're talking. I know two different types of grounding. And Steve, I'm sure you know a couple different more than I would, because the ones I'm thinking of is there's either like the self-guided meditation where you're grounding yourself to a place or time, or there's literally the grounding in it's another one of these forest bathing techniques where these people are literally burying themselves to a certain degree and connecting with the soil and nature, much like the forest part of side of things, but it's ground related. So feet on the ground. Okay, I was curious which way Danny was going to go with this. I just seen something about it recently, and I don't know anything about it. Feet on the ground. What's your thoughts here, Steve?
So everything is your intention, right? But as a great example, this is something that's kind of new to me as well, grounding, but it's become vibrationally compatible to me lately. When we were in Labrador a few weeks ago, we were out picking bake apples, these berries, right? And we're walking over the bogs and marshes, and it was hot, man. We stopped for a break on a big chunk of granite, right? And I'm sitting there, and I got Dunlaps on, right, and wool socks, because it's Labrador. That's what I wear, right? That just everywhere, pretty much. So anyway, I'm like, man, my feet are hot. So I took my feet off, my Dunlaps off, and took my socks off, and just took a walk around the barrens, right? Walking on the rocks, walking on the moss. They had reindeer moss and blackberry bog, right? And you're walking around, and it's like, it connects you. It connects you to the land you're on, man. And you get a feeling, it feels different, right, than having a shoe on. And it
Absolutely.
slows you down. It slows you don't rush when you're barefoot, man. You watch every step, you take your time, and that slows
And
everything
that's
down.
just it. And that's why I wanted to get your opinion on it before I jumped in on this. My wife is a big grounding kind of person. She is very barefoot in the woods. I am if I'm relaxing. If I am doing stuff, I tend to be, boots on, hammer down. But I understand the concept, and much like what you're saying there, and Danny, it is one of those things when you do go barefoot, and like I said, Melissa does it pretty much exclusively once we hit the woods. It does slow you down. It does make you choose your steps more cautiously. It makes you look around and notice more things about your surrounding area. For me, with my boots on, I'm gonna bullhead through anything. I might accidentally step in a hole or into a little bit of water or into a bramble bush or walk over poison ivy and not even notice it. You know what I mean? Because in subconsciously, I'm like, well, I got pants and boots on. It's not gonna bother me. I'm not super susceptible to poison ivy either. It'll be fine. When you're barefoot, a lot more goes through your mind. You start looking for yellow jacket nests. Individual thorns can become the bane of your existence. But yeah, it truly slows you down. It makes you more like hyper aware of what's going on around you. Because
Yes, man.
one, you're going to be walking on this stuff with very little padding on your feet. And even if your feet toughen up, there's always the potential of something sharp hitting you. And two, realizing that you are walking around pretty vulnerable on your feet, you're realizing that escape and escape routes are much more meaningful depending on where you're at. Just to turn tail and bolt somewhere, if you're in a shale pit, you're not going to go far before blood clots catches up to you. You know what I mean? It really does slow you down. It's when I do it around the campsite, it's a centering thing. It's literally just that. It slows me down. It makes me calm myself down, pay a little more attention, forget about town, forget about work, forget about all the busy things, and live in the moment. And that's one of the
Yep.
things that grounding does for me, like going the barefoot. Now, Melissa, there's a lot more to it, and if she was free tonight, I'd love to get her input on it too. But I think she actually talked about it in a previous episode as well, and I'll pick her brain on that later. And if we can figure out where it is, I'll include the link.
Nice. Yeah, so I do it as I don't do it a lot. Even better, next level if you can get your feet in a stream, right? Your bare feet in a stream in the woods is nice. Pick when you're gonna do it, right? I don't take off my shoes on the side of the road and run into the woods, man. Go in while you're in the woods when you feel intuitively it's time, right? Then take off your shoes and walk across some moss. You don't even have to move. Just stand there. Stand on a really nice mossy spot in your bare feet and feel it, man. And also another practice I do in during meditation. If I'm aligning chakras and doing that sort of thing in meditation, I will send in my mind will visualize roots, doors opening on the bottom of your feet and roots going down to the core of the earth, the center of the earth, and wrapping themselves around it. And you kind of while you're meditating, you have that grounded connection to the earth, right? So
Let's see, Danny. Supposed to be some health benefits to it as well, and the ones I'm aware of is yeah, literally it calms you down to a degree because you are so. I don't want to say lethargic because you're not lazy. It's you're so slowed down. You're so slothed by everything. Everything kind of slows down, like your heart rate, your thought process. Everything kind of takes a breather, which is
but your
good on your
awareness
body. It
heightens.
releases a lot of stress, a lot of pent up tensions and things like that that you may have that you weren't even aware of. And I'm sure Steve can attest to this, not only with what we're talking about here tonight, but also with your tinctures and stuff like that. Is you can potentially come back from the woods after having some herbal tea and things like that, and pains are gone you never even knew you had. You know
Right.
what I mean? A lot of inflammatory things and stuff like that. Joint
Yeah.
pain is a big one. People will be like,
Yeah.
oh, I never even noticed that my knees used to hurt so bad. And then you
Right.
kind of slow down. You get into the woods. You're a little bit more barefoot, a little softer in your step. We tend to be a lot more busy in our everyday lives, and we
Yeah.
hit hard on the ground. You don't do that with no shoes on. You slow down. You walk soft. It literally does loosen you up. Is the best way I can say it on scientifically, on medically.
Yeah. I agree with you.
Thanks for touching on this, fellas. Yeah, no worries, Danny. Anytime, man. So we are
Anytime.
rolling up on 22 minutes here, Steve. So we kind of we didn't get derailed. We went down a rabbit hole a little bit, much as we do here in Atlantic Bushcraft Adventures. So jumping a little bit back more on task here. Let's talk about your own certification a little bit and what people can look forward to. Once again, folks, Steve is new at it, but you do got some plans going forward. And you and I have talked about that, and I'll let you talk about what you want and what you don't want.
Yeah, so I've visualized the whole thing, right? What a session would look like. Basically, I know where I'm going already. These are all places, and if you watch my YouTube, we're gonna go to those places, man. We're gonna go to the exact places that I've been going to, because it's too perfect. It's like the universe just set the pins up now, and I just got to be the ball and roll towards them. Because I've got 6 or 7 places all within one area that are what they call in the course like sit spots. Some spots you can just go sit and be, man, and witness nature do its thing and be a part of it. I always say, right, like I don't wear camo to be camouflage. I just want to blend in. When I'm out there, I'm blending in, man. And you wouldn't believe that I've had 2 very close bear encounters this year that weren't frightening or anything. Just, right, like very, very close to bears. And I'm standing there grinning ear to ear, right? And they're looking at me like, what is this guy doing? Right? And then bear turns around and realizes, that's a dude, man. What is he doing?
What the
They
heck
turn
is
around,
this
walk
weird
away.
tall bear
Right?
doing in here?
So it's like, but yeah, the way that I got certified was I took an online course through Alma Oasis, and I saw it on Facebook, man. And I'm not the type, right? Like I'm a DIY guy through and through. I do not spend money on things I don't need ever. I will suffer and craft and figure something out before I spend $1 on stuff. And in this case, so I saw the Facebook ad and was like, no, keep scrolling, right? And I kept seeing it, forest therapy, forest therapy. What is this? So I clicked on it and was like, geez, that sounds familiar. So then I reached out to Alma Oasis and asked a few questions, right? What's up with this? What? Give me details, right? And the response I got from them was beautiful, man. It was like a real person behind a keyboard who actually cared if I took the course or not. And I was like, wow, that's impressive. Then I got on their website. I was like blown away. Very professional, well done website. Got looking at the course, and luckily for me, it was 70% off, right? So it was right, huge, really discounted, right? So I was like, well, I don't usually pay for stuff like this, but you know, I'm going to go for it. Everything's telling me to go for it. I'm doing it. So I did it. And this was before we went to Labrador. So it's all online. Once you're enrolled, you get a login, you go into your own page on the site, and your courses are listed there. It was 10 modules, work at your own pace, right? At the end of every module, there's a quiz, like a short answer quiz, and then a true or false type of short quiz. And at the end of the 10 modules, you write an exam. And it's like any kind of CEUs or anything that you take for industry practices, right, to keep your education up. You have to have like a 70% or greater to pass, right? So I went through it, took it, enjoyed every minute of it. Right? It took me till module 6 to realize that I could go back into the material while I was doing the test. Like it's kind of like open book, right? I'm like, oh no, this is great. Okay, better. Right on.
Through 6
Right
tests.
here I am. Like, and Sylvotherapy is not the type of thing. Like, if you Google it, you'll get pretty bland answers, right? You'll get answers, but nothing really super specific, right? So you can't cheat on this course or nothing. Not that I'd try, but you know what I mean. So it was legit. It was great. And first thing people ask is like, well, is it accredited? And I'm like, yeah, by 2 different organizations. It is accredited. That's crazy. Cool, right? Like,
Yeah, no.
so yeah, I was pretty passionate about it in it. I still am now, and I can't wait to get started, right? I'm just a little bit less humidity would be great because I want people to come in the woods with me and really have an experience, man. That's what it's all about. I want them to get a little slice of what I've been doing, and hopefully they'll do it themselves, right? That would be the great goal, and get more people out in the woods getting feeling better, man, about everything.
And I think that's what really made it for me in this instance with you getting your certification is truthfully, I know you're going to do this for the greater good of everybody else. This is not a get rich quick scheme that you're cooking up. This is something that you do have a passion about. You do want to take people out and you do want to better people, not only with knowledge, but with their connection to the forest and just nature in general. So, I mean, good on you, man. Once again, congratulations.
I got a full-time job. Just like you, right? Like I work for a living, so all this stuff is after work, right? So all my
again,
YouTube is after work.
Shows how
all
much
this,
it means
all
to
that
you, right?
learning, right? Like, and I don't, you know, you've been there and seen it, right? I don't charge money for stuff, hardly ever. Only I am participating in a market coming up in September 21st in Spring Hill, the Spring Hill Church.
Yeah, I know which one
It's
you're talking about.
the Maben Market,
Yep.
I think is how it's pronounced. But it's like a witch's market, man. So ask me how I got into that crowd. I have no idea. But anyway, because a few years ago, the universe had me making wands, man. When I was learning how to carve and doing carving, I made wands. And I gave them all away, of course. But then when I saw this witch's market, I still have some staffs left from that time too. So it's like, man, I still got staffs. I can make more wands, right? I can make spoons. I can make cauldron spoons. So
Believe
I
it or
looked into
not, I
getting
have
in
a
this.
staff here somewhere.
I know,
kid
we
you
all
not,
have
it's
one.
somewhere. It might
Right?
be over
Yeah,
under the
no, I
sink
believe
bag.
you.
But
yeah, so I signed up for that. So that's coming up. So I'll be promoting that too as I go. But that'll be something I'll charge a little bit of money for. But I mean, I'm never breaking even on anything.
So
right?
people wanted to
if you
find
factored in
out-
my time.
Okay, so before we finish up here, because once again we are coming up in the 30 minutes, if people wanted to find out more information on your courses or where they can follow you about your information in your journey, or if they want to get in touch to you about potentially taking one of your upcoming courses or something like that, what is the best way for people to kind of stay in touch with you or follow you or whatever way you want to go here, Steve?
Yeah, so I'm all over the place, man. This is a makes my days a lot longer. But I'm on Instagram, right? Is a really good one. My Facebook, I basically keep for just people I know, right? Like that's not a professional account or anything, but my Instagram is, my TikTok is, but you'll find me under Steve Ripley on that instead of the Drifting Spore. And YouTube, man, like everything, it all leads back to the YouTube, right? For me, and again, not a get rich thing, but it's a good way for me to show people what it's like in the woods, right? You get a visual at least when you come with me. You'll be able to experience it. And I guess the best way to contact me would be through my email, right, which is listed on my YouTube.
Okay.
And yeah, and
if anybody wants
any
to
way
find
you want,
Steve
right?
on
If
YouTube,
you find me,
what's your name, Steve, on YouTube?
the Drifting Spore, man.
All one word, folks.
Spore.
The Drifting
All
Spore.
one word. Yeah, yeah. And it didn't take long. When you Google me, I come up, right? And another twist of the universe, right? How lucky. Yeah, to get an idea for a name and nobody else has got it.
Well, I mean, that's the whole name of the game, is you got to be unique, right? So yeah, folks, once again, we're going to say thank you very much to Steve joining us here tonight, talking a little bit about what he's going to be doing in the future. Once again, if you want to reach out to Steve, best way to get a hold of him is to contact him through his YouTube account, because his email address is listed there. Just search for The Drifting Spore. Once again, all one word, The Drifting Spore. You can search that, Google any search engine you want, or type it straight into YouTube. It's going to be there. I believe he's going to be under our Ben and I. Sorry, he's not here tonight. Sorry, Ben. It's under our Facebook. I think we have a link back to you, and I think we have a link back to you on our YouTube account too. So definitely just check it out. You're pretty easy to find. You do upload a lot of content. You have a daily video that comes up, which is always neat, about your travels. I find them very therapeutic and soothing. I imagine a lot of other people do too. You're pretty good with a camera, in all honesty. You're catching on quick. From where you started to where you are. You are getting good with a camera.
Yeah, well, it's because it's fun, right? It's what I'm enjoying doing, so it's not hard. It's easy. It's just happening. But the daily videos, what I want people to do as just a little practice, they're 30-second videos, but when you're watching that video, at like 30 seconds, a lot of them are 31, at 30 seconds, close your eyes and try to keep seeing it. Try to see it in your mind, right? Take it with you. Try to see it in as much detail as you can, right? And I think you'll find some great therapeutic value from that, especially if you can do it right at the end, close your eyes and continue seeing it, and try to stretch that, slow your breathing down, try to stretch that out for another 30 seconds, right? See how you feel when you open your eyes, man.
All right. So, Danny there, Red Sand Adventures, if you're not on his page, he's telling you, feel free to share any updates on his page as well. So once again,
cool.
Folks, Danny seen he's joined us here, had a lot of great comments. Shout out to him. You can find him on Facebook, Red Sand Adventures, on YouTube as well, Red Sand Adventures. And yeah, once again, Steve, if you want to post up on his site, our site, you're going to have a lot of networking here by the end of it, buddy. And we wish you the best of luck with it. And keep in touch. Let us know how this goes. I'd love to check back in with you a couple times. I'm sure our listeners out there would love to hear how this is all going for you. And as you get more experience into it, maybe we'll see how your vision has changed or how it's developed, bloomed into what you want it to be, if you will.
Yeah, right on, right? It's just a creative process at this point. We're seeing where
Everything
it goes,
starts
man.
Everything starts.
Yeah, exactly. Everything was a thought once.
Atlantic Bushcraft Adventures was nothing more than a drunken idea I had one night when I was talking to my wife. And then we're here. Ben and I
started doing.
this far in. And I mean yourself. Yours was probably nothing more than a whim. And now go look at your YouTube channel. You far surpass us in videos, buddy.
Yeah, I think I just did it to, I started doing it to kind of stick in the eye to the kids, right? You're watching YouTube when we could be making it, right?
Fair enough.
And it just evolved from there after the first couple of videos, I was away, man.
All right, Steve, once again, thank you very much for joining us here at Atlantic Bushcraft Adventures. We're definitely looking forward to seeing where your adventures take you. And we'll definitely check in again. So don't be a stranger, man. Awesome. Anytime you want to come on, even if it's not a topic about what you're doing, jump in. Argue with Ben and I for a while. It'll be a good, fun laugh.
Why not? Yeah, right on.
All right, Steve, man. You have yourself a good night, and everybody else there, too. You guys have a good night, too. Night, all.
You guys, thanks for listening. Bye for now.